Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review of Tower of God, and I feel like we have a lot to talk about this week. I feel like we have a lot to talk about essentially every week with Tower of God. It's Tower of God. Yeah, sorry this is a day late, but last night, by the time I got time to record it, it was a bit late, and I was like, I don't want to rush it or anything, so I'm going to just wait and take my time and do it Wednesday. So yeah, we're at chapter 333 this week, or season 2, episode 253. And at first, when I first reacted to it, of course, during my reaction, I wasn't really feeling very well Monday. I think maybe like Sunday through most of Monday, maybe a little bit of yesterday, I was pretty sick. Not super sick, but just kind of feeling a bit off, had a bit of a head cold or something maybe. So yeah, especially, I think Sunday night I was really feeling bad. But I'm getting so distracted. So yeah, during my first reading of it, I was like, I'm not sure about this. Like, I liked it, but I just wasn't totally sure about everything in it. But then rereading it, it grew on me a lot more than I figured it would, to the point where I really enjoyed it. Now, was it perfect? Not really. There are some things to criticize, but it was still very good. I'll talk through it part by part. First off, we have Rachel stung by the little bee, which is invisible and poisonous. And Dali brings up that he doesn't want to fight Rachel head on in case she has the same sort of powers as Baam. Now this I liked because I didn't really think of it. They saw Baam and Rachel essentially come in together, and they haven't really seen what they can really fully do. I mean, of course, Dali saw Baam take out Fabregas, but it was Fabregas, correct? No, it was... Yeah, it was Fabregas. Wolcott was the one that Yuri took out. I was getting the two confused for a moment. So yeah, Dali saw that, but other than that, they really didn't have any reason to think that Rachel wouldn't have the same powers as Baam. So I think this was interesting because it's something that I hadn't really even thought of. I thought they would see Rachel as weaker, but yeah, they have no real reason to see her as weaker. So I thought that was interesting. And again, it keeps blowing through this defense that for some reason I still see people saying, oh, if it was Baam, they wouldn't react like this. But no, because they would. Baam would say the same sort of things as Rachel. Baam would say, free them, do not keep them trapped here. Keeping them trapped here is bad, just let them free. And then there was the excuse, well, they think Baam's a real savior and Rachel's a fake savior, and it's no, they think she's a fake savior because she's trying to free them. The same thing that Baam would do because he's a good guy. And it's evidence that the power level has nothing to do with them seeing Rachel or Baam differently, because they didn't know up until... Well, I guess even now they don't really know if Rachel has the same abilities as Baam or not. Of course she doesn't, but they don't know that. Then Andrasi tells Kun that Ryun is gone. Ryun says, just be a distraction for a while. And this I'm super interested in, so to a point I was like, I wish we would have seen more of it here. But I don't mind that we didn't, because that means we can get to focus on it completely in a chapter or two, or focus on it more completely in a chapter or two, so I don't mind that at all. I'm really excited to see the stuff with Kun's team. And I'd like to see, like, Kun sort of outsmarting him, because, like, Dali is, I think they said he was former high ranker. He is way too strong for them to handle in an ordinary fight. So I'd like to see something happens where it's like they would lose in an ordinary fight, but Kun can sort of lead them and make a plan so that they don't really win or physically fight so much, but they're able to Kun's able to outsmart Dali enough to hold out for enough time until Ryun gets the ladle. That keeps Dali looking like a real strong, viable threat, and it makes Kun look even better because he was able to outsmart this threat and keep them alive until Ryun could get the ladle. Then, of course, once Ryun has the ladle, she pretty much has them not really blackmailed, maybe manipulated, but pretty much she can just say, your family's rule over this entire floor, like it sort of rests on the shoulders of this ladle. I can do what I want with this ladle while it's in my possession. I could smash it if I wanted to, and that would be very bad for you Grand Family if I did anything you didn't want me to do with it. So pretty much the Grand Family's hopes and dreams of ruling rely on this ladle. So once Ryun has it, there's not much they can do to stand against them, because Ryun can essentially just hold it hostage. Then cutting back to the Thryssa, Teljo, Yurik stuff, the Thryssa fully begins to speak through the Joe-Thryssa combo body. He says that Joe was a good vessel, but like it was pretty much this backstory of before Yurik found it. It was just jumping from bug vessel to bug vessel and just dying and being reborn because none of the vessels were strong enough really to give it the life it needed. Then it got put into Joe by Yurik, and it was like, oh, this is a pretty good vessel, but it could never fully take over his body because Joe had his own good guy ideals until finally it happened with the with Joe losing the vote. And once Joe lost that vote, Heljo started to feel lonely, to doubt himself, to be insecure about his convictions and his dream, and the Thryssa capitalized on that and essentially just kept chipping away at Joe and chipping away at him, and eventually corrupted him and took over his mind. Kind of took over his mind. What we had here, the Joe we had here, was like a combination of Joe and the Thryssa. It was a Joe that was corrupted by the Thryssa. Also, we see that the Thryssa still remembers Enryu, so if it still remembers Enryu, then can we assume that it is the Guardian in a way? Even if it's not necessarily the Guardian, it is a rebirth of it or something. It has the Guardian's memories. And what it wants is revenge on Enryu. That's why it wants to escape the floor, so it can track down Enryu and get revenge. Very, very angry Guardian. We have the beatdown of Yurik by Heljo, and the art is amazing. The choreography of it was great too. I really like the one sequence where Yurik grabs his arm and goes for a punch, but then he spins his full body around and punches Yurik in the face. I thought that was a really good sequence. But pretty much Yurik tanks it all and is totally cool. Then the Thryssa starts sucking up all the Shinsu from around the floor. That was difficult to say. And we find out that Yurik injected him during the beatdown that was going on. Baam tries to use the thorn and the souls to try to stop all the Shinsu from being sucked up, and it looks like it works to a certain extent, and it sort of stops him for a moment. And when Thryssa looks at Baam, he sees the power of the Guardian, and that eye panel actually looks like it's not meant to represent Baam, but to represent the, it looks like that blue demon that we saw when I'm trying to think of a better word to call it than Baam's inner world, but when we saw Baam's, for lack of a better word, inner world, it looks like that blue demon thing that was talking about power and whatnot. So this may be a logical jump, of course, but possibly that's the power of the Guardian. Continuing on, I'll come back to that later in my thoughts on the chapter fully. Then Yurik shows up, reveals, hey, I injected you, and of course, the common movie, comic, anything else trope of when you say, oh, I did this to you earlier, is when the person finally starts feeling the effects. Then he hits the Joe Thryssa and knocks the Thryssa out of Joe, and he pretty much chokes out the Thryssa and says that he thought that Joe's great ideals needed a power befitting those ideals, but he was wrong. Joe doesn't need this kind of power because it only hurts people for its own sake. Which was a really good little speech at the end and shows the maturity that can be had with Yurik's character. So yeah, some thoughts I'm having as a whole after this. The Red Thryssa, when he activated that Blood Messiah mode form, whatever, and like he had the glowing red Shinsu body, looked really, and I didn't even really notice it or take that much into account at first. I saw people bring up in my comments about the Blue Demon, but then rereading it finally hit me, Red Thryssa in that form looks a lot like the Blue Demon except red, so it does look like they could be the same thing, only different, one red, one blue for whatever reason. So here's what I'm starting to think. He said that he saw a massive soul, maybe it was the Guardian soul, and I saw somebody say maybe the dead Baam body had the Guardian soul put in it by Enryu. Maybe that's why Enryu killed the Guardian, or at least one of the many reasons. We have a lot of reasons going right now why he did it, like to show Zahard what's up, to leave the thorn there, so many reasons right now. But maybe one reason is that, and maybe he even used the soul stirring ladle to do it, to get the actual Guardian soul and put it in the lifeless baby Viol to revive and make Baam. Because we know that Baam was dead and somehow brought back to life, so maybe the ladle was used by Ryu to do that. That could be something we figure out. Also, a lot of people bringing up the red exoskeleton, because I thought as well that does, the Thryssa and the red exoskeleton are kind of similar, and we still, that was so long, that was years ago, and we still don't know what the hell was up with that thing. So what I'm thinking here is maybe even, it's a possibility they used the ladle to take out the soul, but maybe we've been told about the red Thryssa, but we haven't been told if that's the only Thryssa. So maybe there was another one, other than the one that went into, maybe when it died, maybe when the Guardian died, there were a bunch of Thryssa that were just parts of it or whatever. And part of it, one of the Thryssas, since we know that they can go into things and take them over as hosts, maybe one of the Thryssas was put into the dead baby's body, or the dead child's body. I don't quite think he was a baby. And that's how they put the Thryssa and attached it as a parasite, and how they made Baam come back to life. That could maybe explain it, and that could be why he has part of the Guardian soul inside of him. Yeah, I guess maybe that could make sense. And that's why when Baam got hit by the Shinsu blast that one time, it sort of knocked the Thryssa halfway out of him to try to protect him or something. So yeah, maybe Baam has a Thryssa inside of him. And that's what that skeleton was. Just some guesses here, because we're seeing a lot of stuff. Also, to talk about some stuff with the blog really quick. So pretty much it was rundown, then theory. Now we're going to talk about the blog. As for the blog, Siu says that Guardians have godly Shinsu control on their particular floors, but it can be interrupted. And I think the reason he brought that up is because we know that the Thorn sort of hijacks Shinsu or makes Shinsu its own. So I think when Baam tried really hard with the souls and all to try to activate the Thorn, that sort of interrupted the Shinsu control of Thryssa for a moment, which is why all the Shinsu stopped getting sucked out of everything for a minute, or sucked towards it for a minute. He also says that the Thryssa was incomplete because Heljo had emotions, and it's not normal for a Guardian to have emotions. And the Thryssa itself sort of had these vengeful emotions. Yeah, and he says other than head-on, Guardians don't typically have those. Then he also says that Red Thryssa will have some secrets revealed next week, and that a lot of the arc is going to be wrapped up in the next chapter. So that's, I mean, it's not really that weird. The arc's been going on for 20-some chapters, I believe. And that, even then, that's a pretty long arc for Tower of God, especially given that Tower of God usually has really content-filled chapters. Then lastly, he says that they'll focus on Dasa after that. And he brings up, I wonder what Karaka and Joaquin are doing, and I guess Wangnin's asleep, just sort of joking that we haven't seen them in a while, so that hopefully we don't forget about them. So yeah, that was it for blog info, and now let me give some quick, just general thoughts on the quality of the chapter. I really enjoyed it in hindsight, like I said at the beginning, rereading, going through it again. I enjoyed it more, I think, rereading it, and that's true some weeks. Some weeks, when I first read it, I'm really excited, and I keep that excitement, or sometimes I'm really excited the first time, and then the second time I'm like, okay, I know what's going on here. Rereading it's just like rereading anything. And then some weeks I read it, and I can't really appreciate it until I go back a couple times and reread and really take in what all different things mean. And that's how this is, like the stuff with the Red Thryssa and the soul and the possible blue demon's eye or whatever. Stuff like that, I had to really think about what it meant to at first. Like, just reading the story, it was whatever, but then when you think about what the story means, it adds a lot more. So what I would like to see more of going into the future, I would like to see a lot of what's going on with the Kun team, and I'd like to see them solve their issues without Baam's interference right now. At least so far, like, let them solve the Dali thing without Baam's interference, and then after that, they can team back up to stop whatever Karaka and Joaquin are doing. So something like that, just because I want to see them have their own strong moment without Baam. Then I thought the Helljoe fight ended a little bit easily at first, and I still kind of think that, but really it's not as bad now that I've reread it. I was like, especially seeing that beatdown and how cool all the different art was again, I'm like, okay, it wasn't that bad. It was a little bit quick, but it made sense, so it doesn't really matter if it was really quick in a negative way, because it makes sense. It makes sense that Yurik would just do this. I mean, it's Yurik. He's completely overpowered when it comes to this early in the game. Yeah. Basically, it was a chapter that brought up a whole lot of new questions. A couple answers, not really, maybe, I guess, answering what's going to happen with the Helljoe fight, but other than that, it just brings up a ton of questions for us. And at the score, I thought it was really, really good. Not amazing or next to perfect, but I thought it was really good. So I'm going to give it 8.5 Blood Messiahs out of 10. 8.5 out of 10. Hope you enjoyed the video. So like if you did like it. Comment down there to tell me what you thought of this week's chapter and what you thought of my thoughts and all that. I guess comment, or I just said comment. Subscribe for more Tower of God and much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want to try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. That is it. So thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.